Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Hospitality Today Live. I'm Deborah Gardner, your host, and we are so thrilled that you are here with us today because I tell you what, we've been facing a lot of crisis recently, right? Well, pressuring the situations, the things that we have been doing and dealing with really need to come to the surface, in other words. And today we're going to be able to do that because there's a lot of focus on mental health, threatening associates and guests, and in the entire industry. And today we have a very special guest that's going to help us understand a lot of this. She is a very talented, seasoned hotel executive that has demonstrated over 30 years in the sales and marketing segment of our industry. She belongs to PM Hotels Groups, which happens to be one of the top rated companies in the industry. And we are talking about Lovell Casiero. She is amazing, and we're so excited for her to be here because she's the Senior VP of Sales and Marketing. And today, Lovell is going to talk about the holistic experiences in hospitality. And that's the crisis that we're dealing with today. She's an inspiring leader. She's a Southern belle at heart and one of my favorite people that's going to go really deep into this topic. And you're not going to want to miss it. So do stay with us and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This episode is sponsored by Versatour. Let the site tour come to you. Versatour.com. Well, here we are with one of my favorite people, as I mentioned. Lovell, how are you?
I am fine, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I so enjoy your show. What a hero you are of mine.
Oh, well, hey, ditto here. And I'm just so excited to have you on the show because it's such a hot topic that we really need to discuss. And there's no one better than you to share this information with all of us. And I want to start out because I know this crisis that we're going to be facing, if not already facing, really is going to affect the hospitality industry personally, professionally, and all around the entire industry around the world. And so this holistic experience in the hospitality that you are talking about, we want to know more. What does this actually mean?
Well, I'd love to start with why I have such a passion about this, Deborah, because to your point, it is going to become a very serious issue, not just for the hospitality, but for all of us who came through the last 2 years. I like to say that if you were broken a little bit when you went in, you're a lot broken now. And if you felt like you were not broken at all, you probably got a few cracks in the armor right now. So, and I just especially have a passion for those individuals that were on the front line during this. It was a different world in our hotels. You were dealing with things you never had to deal with. And we had so many of our associates at PM Hotel Group that just showed up every day, did whatever they had to do. And we started to see a decline in just their mental well-being. And so holistic in general, for me, means mind, body, and spirit wellness. And nowadays, I think, we're just all a little broken after what we've been through. Some of the statistics that I follow for 2020 are just heartbreaking when you think about that 40% of adults have mental issues following 2020. $210 billion is spent on treatment in this area. And most heartbreaking for me is that the second largest cause of death for people, hold on to your seats, 10 to 34, is suicide.
Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
I just have a real passion for this. And fortunately, I work for a company who recognizes the need and has been very out in front, making sure that we are addressing this for our associates.
That's great. That's great to hear. And it's perfect timing. And your background to handle this type of subject and to help people. Can you share that with our viewers? Because I know you have an extensive background. You definitely do. I admire.
So obviously, you mentioned I've been in hospitality for more than 30 years. That's hard to believe. They went by really quickly, and I can't remember many days that I wasn't having fun.
Right?
I also just personally come from 4 generations of ministry. And so it's always very special for me when I can take that personal faith base that I live with all the time and take it to work and be able to just be compassionate to people. Really,
Right.
that's what it's about. Just being
Right.
kind and compassionate to people. And then with my position at PM Hotel Group as an executive, the leaders that I work with there, we've been very top of mind, even through the 2 years that felt like one, and kind of all blurred together. In our town halls, um, we would have a therapist come and just speak, on ways to deal with what you were going through and what you were feeling. And we also would have some fun. We would have some famous entertainment show up at our town halls and just sit and play the piano and sing for us.
Right.
Now we are recommending that they have breaks during like a Friday break and getting one of my hotels the other day posted that they all got together and got a little bendy, did some yoga. So another subject that's near and dear to my heart.
Well, hey, any way that it takes to help relieve the stress and kind of get more in tune with who they are or we are, I think is going to be key. And I know that you're a speaker that speaks on this topic among others as well. And so again, with your background and out there on the speaking circuit, it really makes us feel more comfortable knowing that someone like yourself can talk about this because it's not talked about. That those statistics that you just mentioned are just gut
Mind
wrenching.
blowing.
I'm just astounded by what we're hearing, and yet it's not being talked about. Why do you think that is?
I'm just going to say it out loud, Deborah. I don't think our country has ever done a really good job with mental health.
Mhm.
I think that we're just conditioned to kind of like brush it under the rug, and so, but we've come through a point in time where we cannot really ignore it anymore. I
Right,
mean,
right,
I was working the entire time. I'm very thankful for that. But I was working remotely from my home, and we did not go into our hotels for safety reasons. We did not go into our hotels because they had such skeleton staffs. They didn't, I mean, the last thing they wanted to see was, the senior vice president of sales and marketing show up, right?
right,
So
right,
we stayed away, and it was killing me because that was my favorite thing to do. And that's what the favorite part of my job is, going into the hotels and working with the hotels. So when I finally started going back in, it was just heartbreaking to see the team members, and you could just see the
oh
fatigue on
gosh,
their face.
oh gosh,
And we talk about this all of the time as an executive team, in that we have to make sure, first of all, that our associates are happy and well, and that they have a good balance. Because I have a saying, I one of you talked about, I do speak on this topic, and one of my favorite things to say is, there's a reason why that airline attendant tells you to put your oxygen mask on before you
hmm
help the person beside of you. If you're
right,
not breathing, you can't help them. And so that's really where this comes from, is like,
okay,
we need to take care of them and show them how to take care of themselves and be well balanced, mind, body, spirit. And then they'll take care of the people that report to them. They'll be able to still have time and take care of their families as well, because
Very good point. Very good point. Well, we've got some fans here that have some questions for you, which we always love to take. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen for you. This one is from one of our big show fans here, Randall Reeder. Thank you so much, Randall, for being here. He says, will removal of the mask and vaccine requirements help improve mental health?
Randall, I can promise you it will improve my mental health. Take mask off. But seriously, I think that does create other stressors.
Sure.
In addition to everything else that we're dealing with, in addition to, being concerned about keeping your children safe when you come home from work after you've been working in the public, being, maybe having to take care of elderly parents, maybe losing people and loved ones these past few years. But I do think that whatever you're feeling about wearing a mask or getting vaccinated, when you have to think about the enforcement of that, it does create extra stress. So I would say my answer is, when those restrictions start lifting, that yes, it will help improve our mental health. And the other, you can definitely see it improves business when those
Right.
restrictions lift. And I think
Right.
there's not a hotelier out there that wouldn't feel a little less stress if we could get back to our 2019 business levels.
Right. Well, that's a very good answer, and very good points, because a lot of people think, oh, it's me, it's what I'm doing, when there could be some uncontrollable conditions out there in the world that are causing it too. So it's almost like you can't be so hard on yourself. The world is the world. It is what it is, but it's a matter of taking control of your well-being, and trying to work around the situations, it seems like.
You as I said, you have to take care of self first, and that sounds selfish, but if you're not strong, you can't be there for others. And it's really simple. It's getting into a habit of being able to, I call it the three-legged stool, and that is, meditation, exercise. Exercise is very important, and getting that heart rate up is very important. And then sometimes you do have to use medication, and that there's no shame in that. I don't use medication, but I use supplements.
Right.
So, just to keep myself healthy, and exercise and do my yoga and play my tennis. And I think that it's hard to get in those habits, because our human nature is to want to care for others, and especially women. Women want to care for others.
Right.
And that's what we do. And
Right.
we typically put all of our needs at the back of the bus, right? And so we are not taking care of ourselves, and then all of a sudden we're stressed and we're tired, and our health starts to fail.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up women, because starting today is Women's History Month. And of course, it's all about celebrating women, to remind ourselves the accomplishment of what we have done throughout the years. And there's a lot of trailblazers out there that help lead the way. So talking about women in general, because we are the hardest on ourselves, what advice, what tips would you give above and beyond the ones that you just mentioned, that would really help them create a better mindset? Is there anything that you have done or have seen work for other women?
I think the biggest advice that I would give women, and no offense to the guys out there, we love you, but the women are all things to all people. I mean, we're moms, we're sisters, we're best friends, we're leaders, we're daughters, and we feel like we have to. Our nature is to fill those roles and fill them at 110%. I was raised by a mom who said, go in there, give them 110%. Your problems will be home when you get there. But my number one advice for women, and we've already talked about the three-legged stools, would be, it's okay to say no sometime. It's okay not to be the be all to end all for everybody in your life. It's okay to say no. And I think that's what, we have a really hard time as women. We want to solve all the problems. We want to be the solution to every problem. I know that's my personal problem. I think, every problem out there, if it comes my way, it's my job to solve that problem. And I've had to realize over the last 4 or 5 years that that's not the case, Lovell. There are other people out there who can solve problems. It's not, you that has to do that. So saying no sometimes, perfectly okay.
Yeah, yeah. Why not? Why not? Those are great, great wise words from the experience. That is for sure. We've got another question for you. Let's put this one on the screen for you from Visibly Media, who has been our sponsor in the past. What are some suggestions or groups that can help with our mental health? So obviously, we don't want to do this alone. Where do we get that help?
So, there's, first of all, the internet is an incredible resource, as we all know. I mean, look how we're coming to you today online, and it's an incredible resource. I listen to podcasts all the time when I'm getting dressed, when I'm driving in my car. There is a ton of resources out there, just like Deborah's show, that specializes in this topic of being holistic and mental health. The other thing that I would say is if you work for a company, check in with your healthcare provider. Check in with your insurance. A lot of times, our HR department is super, super good about at PM Hotel Group. We are constantly pushing out programs that are available to our associates. We are constantly doing wellness contests and things like that. So check in with your HR department. Hopefully, they will have some good advice for you on what is offered through your healthcare. And then I would say, lastly, kind of going back to my roots, I started in my community and through my church a women's group. And I got to say, there's probably one in every little town across this great nation. You just got to find it. You got to seek it out, because I think we're all in this together. And having those people that you can talk to and that can lift you up in general, just in life, that you should be seeking those folks out. And it's not just for women. I mean, there are groups for men as well, but finding those, kind of common groups that you can come together and just turn the brain off for a little bit and support each other.
Yeah, that is key. And I find it very much of a need, not just for women in general, but men as well. But it seems as though people can feel embarrassed. They can feel shameful. They can be very shy about it. Like, again, what's wrong with me? How do they overcome that so that they can reach out to others and say, hey, I'm dealing with this issue, this situation. I need help.
So I never expected to share this today, Deborah, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to get a little vulnerable, take it a little personal.
Oh,
so
nice.
A few years ago, my situation was that I had recently left a job where I was employed for 10 years in a very important role, and I had gone into business for myself. My mother-in-law had come to live with us because she needed care, and my husband was her care provider. My daughter and my grandkids were being deployed, shipped over to South Korea. And that's on the other side of the world. I figured that out. And it was a perfect storm in my life. And I sought counseling. I sought therapy. And I started going to a therapist for the first time in my life. In my mid-50s, I started going to a therapist. And that therapist was asking me questions that day, and I'm answering them. I got to tell you, I wasn't lying, but I wasn't being totally honest. And I was answering her questions. And at the end of her line of questioning, she said, I think you're depressed. And I'm thinking, oh my God, me? Are you kidding me? not me. I'm Lovell. I'm not depressed. I don't get depressed. And so I'm driving away from that appointment that day, and I'm remembering those questions, and I'm in my mind answering them for real. I'm really going all in on the answer. And I said, "Oh my God, I'm depressed. And I am suffering from depression. Who would have thought that?" And I think that's the first thing. Like, you have to admit it to yourself. You have to first accept it. I raised my daughter saying, if I know the problem exists, I've got half the solution, just the knowledge of it. So then at that point, being me, I began to talk to my best friends and my confidants, and that's when I started figuring out the value of that three-legged stool and working through it. And now I can recognize really well the signs that the things I start to feel, or the way my body starts to feel, a perfect example is when all of a sudden you hear me with negative speech, because I am the most optimistic, positive person. And if I'm negative and complaining, I have to do a little checkup
That's out of the norm.
and see how I got to dial it back a little bit. Get back into the sanctuary, do a little meditation. I have a room upstairs that I call my sanctuary, and do a little meditation, get out on the bike trail, do some exercise, and play some tennis, and just, do what I know to do now that makes Lovell feel better. And that's what people need to have.
Right, right. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that personal story. I
That was
know
planned, Deborah.
no, I know people can relate to that, and I think we had several guests during this pandemic and talking about depression, and it's really the first time I've ever experienced depression. My husband has before, and he had to point it out to me too. So as you're telling this story, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening to a lot of us. And if you're in denial about that, you're not being realistic, especially for these past couple of years. This was a different animal. This one was a beast that really affected everyone, not just professionally, but personally as well. No matter what state you were in, it had to have affected you somehow. So thank you so much for sharing that. We have another question for you too, because I believe, it's from Lisa Raymond. Here we go. Are any hotels still requiring masks or vaccine for employees in light of the revised CDC guidelines? In other words, restricting them still?
So most restrictions in markets, and I'll speak to markets versus specific hotels, because all of our hotels, PM Hotel Group hotels, followed the local mandates to the letter. And, that's what we need to do as good business citizens. But most of them, I think some of the last ones to raise restrictions would be like Portland and Philadelphia and some of the city centers, but they are slowly but surely getting lifted, and the mandates are being lifted. And as I said earlier, we're seeing I walked into a restaurant the other day and no one had mask on, not even the employees. And I was like, okay, this is a little weird. But the interaction, we're made to interact as people, and it's so much harder to do when you're wearing a mask and you can't see your smile. And hospitality is heart and smiles and greeting each other. And it's just, it just makes our job so much harder when we're doing that. But we do have to be safe, and we do have to keep our friends and family and colleagues safe. So we did what we had to do, right?
Right. Well, and this is such a refreshing episode, because for you to come on the air and share with us what PM Hotels Group is doing and what they've been facing. Not a lot of hotel groups will do that. So I say kudos to PM Hotel Group for wanting to be on this show to mention this, because again, it's not being talked about. And so What would you say to other hotel groups or any other company organization in the hospitality industry? Because the holistic experience in the hospitality industry, as you said, can be incorporated from their teams, but it needs to be really incorporated into their guests, their customers, their clients, because that's the ultimate reason why we're in business. So is there any suggestions, advice that you might give to everyone else in the industry?
Well, of course, I'm not going to give away any trade secrets.
Of course not. I
but,
love your humor.
but what I would say is that we are in an all-out war for good talent out there with this labor crisis that we're going through. I will tell you, like, there is a tsunami post-pandemic of not only supply chain issues, but the labor force issues. And let's face it, I mean, anybody who says the hospitality industry was easy pre-pandemic, I probably want to tune into their next podcast because it's hard. Hospitality and hotels are 24/7. It's never been an easy industry. People were rethinking their priorities even pre-pandemic. So good people are hard to find. Plus, I think we have a newfound appreciation for our traditional hotel guest. And so, there's just so many things that you can do to make sure you are providing a holistic atmosphere and meetings. You know what? It doesn't cost anything for you to have an opportunity to get up and take a break. And instead of hitting the coffee bar, hit the outside of the hotel and walk around the parking lot, do a breathing break, have some people there that are, maybe doing some yoga stretches or massage therapy and, in the chairs and things like that. I mean, it's easy stuff. It's not hard. And, the guests themselves, I mean, think about when they come rolling into your hotel, that travel experience has been a whole different ballgame for them than what it ever was.
Right.
And, if you had to do a West Coast flight and wear a mask the whole time, you're a little cranky.
Yeah.
So just understanding that and just knowing that, they're having the same kind of day you are and just being compassionate. And I think we got to go back and revisit our basics of guest service because it's and how we approach guest service and that journey through the hotel from the time you pull under the porte cochere till the day that you leave on the shuttle and head back to it's all got to change.
Yeah, it does. It does. And
business like we always have.
And not only do you say this, but you mean it. I remember first meeting you back in 2019, and I have to show this picture of us. And you made me feel like a guest. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, that is fun. I love that.
Back in the day,
that was a fun conference, Deborah. It was just,
having so much fun.
It was awesome. So.
Exactly. So, but one more question for you before we depart. Can you share with us? I mean, you're the experienced wise one here in the industry. What is the nicest part about working in this industry to you?
Oh my gosh. We would have to do a whole nother show.
Probably.
But it's the people. I know that sounds, so corny, I guess, or so
No,
that's
not at all.
I'm a people person. But it's the people.
It's a relationship with the people. It really is.
And as big as I would have never, ever survived in a cubicle, like doing, working at my computer, doing spreadsheets, it's the people. It's, and look, I've tried to leave the hospitality industry and it's pulling me back. It's kind of like the mafia. It keeps pulling me back.
Reels you back in for sure, doesn't it? Well, this is such a delight with you today. And gosh, I like you said, we can do a whole nother episode on this. I definitely know that some people are still asking some questions, but in the meantime, I think they can go ahead and contact you personally, right? So I've got your email and the website to PM Hotel Groups. Is there any other way that they can reach you to talk to you?
Certainly. Well, if they email me, I'll certainly make sure that they have my contact information to reach out. I could talk this all day long, and I
Mm.
so much appreciate you having me on today, Deborah.
Well, it's been a delight. Totally enjoy having you as well. And our friendship has just been blossoming. Every time we talk, it's just been so much fun. So, all the viewers out there, again, you definitely want to stay in touch with Lovell Casiero, and she is the senior vice president with PM Hotels. There's her contact information. I highly recommend reaching out to her because she definitely has been around the block a few times in this industry. And I'm just thrilled that you were able to share the PM Hotels Group's story, what you're all doing, and you getting out there, sharing this message is perfect timing. So thank you again for being with us. And my goodness, I'll be seeing you around soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Deborah. Much
Okay,
appreciated.
bye-bye. Well, there you go. Wasn't that a wonderful episode? Again, we could have talked to Lovell a lot more longer than what we have here. And I just will promise you we'll have her back for sure. So thank you all for joining us here. I know you've enjoyed this conversation with us. And if you want to see it again, or if you want to share it with others, oh, please do. You'll find her episode on any of your favorite social platforms. And definitely share it with others. I know you're going to really do that and enjoy what she has to say, and from here on out too, because again, it's a very important topic. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Versatora, for being with us here. And if you have any questions, or if you want to be on the show, by all means, contact us at hello@hospitalitytodaylive. We'd love to hear from you. Now, next up for next week, I want to ask you a few questions. Do you need help with your 2022 branding goals? Are you looking for attention when using social media? And are you leaving opportunities on the table when you're trying to connect with customers? Well, then you're not going to want to miss next week's fascinating show with Leanne Calderwood. Now, Leanne is with Hospitality Branding. She is an expert that will bluntly share the importance of having a personal brand in the hospitality profession. Now, find out why developing your brand is so important, especially with your products and services, and how you can actually explode online with your brand. So join us next week. Bring your hardcore questions for her because she's ready. This is for next Tuesday, March 8th, right here on HTL. So until next week, I'm Deborah Gardner. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it right here on Hospitality Today Live. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.